guys, so today I'll be doing a little bit of work on the Jag. I actually rediscovered a project that needed doing a little while ago and completely forgot I even had the part for it, but it should be a relatively straightforward one, which I actually have I think enough time to do, so I'm going to try and knock it out. So let me show you what I'm working on. So one of the small tiny little details I noticed when I first bought the Jag was that the headlight here, I don't know if you can see this, but has a crack in it that kind of runs across the bottom here. And it really hasn't caused me any issues whatsoever. Like, it doesn't appear that the light leaks. It definitely still functions fine. But obviously the goal is to make this thing as nice and clean as possible. So, James actually managed to source a replacement for me. And I've had this sitting on the shelf in my workshop for quite some time with the intent of replacing it. And this is the full assembly. And he also, I guess when he bought it, I didn't realize, but it had all the bulbs and wiring and everything. So hopefully this should be a pretty simple swap. And I'm going to kind of run you through what has to come off to replace one of these. So yeah, I guess we're going to dive in, but it looks like pretty much we're going to remove the inner grille components, the outer grille surround, and then this trim panel that sits underneath and around the lights and grille here. And I think that's all we have to take out. I think from there we should be able to access the hardware that mounts this whole assembly in place. One thing I'm not super excited about is I have a feeling I may have to then adjust the headlights, which is frustrating because obviously these things are actually perfectly adjusted right now. It was nice not to have to fiddle with them when I bought the car, but hey. So I guess we're going to dive into it and see what this takes. So as I mentioned, the first step with a lot of front-end service on this is removing the inner grills. Super straightforward. You've literally got these two little Phillips head screws right here on each one, and as soon as you take those out, here we go. One. Oh, and by the way, try not to lose these because they are very small. And two. There we go. All right. So once those are out, the grill just rocks forward like that, and then lifts out. Simple as that. All right. So once the grills are out, you expose the hardware to remove the grill surround, which is these guys right here, and they are Torx. I will tell you what size Torx that is in the next clip here, but basically just pull these four out and the grill surround should just come off. Since I don't have a bit driver, I actually use a 1/4-inch socket, and that seems to do the trick. So basically it's a T30 Torx. There we go. And pretty much once you get them loose, you don't really need the ratchet anymore. You can just, they're finger tight past that point. So, all right, I'm gonna undo these and we'll get the grill off. Okay, with the four of those removed, the grill surround just comes right off. There we go. So that's the quick and easy part. And now, the nice thing is, it doesn't look like these connect, so we only have to really deal with the one side. And honestly, I think it is genuinely one little fitting, like a little, I think that's a Phillips head screw right there, and I think that's it for this whole piece to come off. So I'm going to check that. If there's anything else, I'll let you know, but I'm going to undo that screw and see what we got. Looks like we may not even have to undo it all the way, because this is a slotted fitting, so we might just need to loosen it and it might slide out. So let's see what we got. Alright, so I did loosen the screw and it did exactly what I thought, which is it freed it up so that this can now slide out of that slot, which is good, but this still feels like it's tied in place down at this corner. So I'm actually going to leave this in place for the time being, and I'm going to start loosening the bolts that hold this assembly in, and hopefully maybe with some wiggle room on that, it might just pop out, or there may be another piece of hardware that I've yet to see. So the nice thing is, because we have this one out of the car, we can see what we're dealing with. Let's try not to let this get on the lens. Basically, we got a nut here, and then it looks like these may just be some sort of like locator peg, maybe like goes into like a rubber vibration damper or something like that. So pretty much, I'm gonna find out what size nut this is, and then we're gonna basically find these in the car, and we're gonna undo them and see what happens. And I think I already spotted them actually. I think it's this guy right here, and then that guy right under there. See if I can get an angle. Anyway, you get the rough idea, you'll see it. So I did have a small breakthrough regarding this trim piece. It's not necessarily attached right over here in the corner, but it actually appears that it's attached to the light assembly, and I can show you. This little guy right here is basically, I think it has one of those plastic kind of like Christmas tree shaped plugs poked into that, which, as you know, are not super fun to remove. It's kind of like these guys here. So I think I'm gonna have to try and remove the whole assembly with that trim piece still in place. So basically I just need to figure out what type of connectors we're dealing with at the bottom here. And you see on here, I see a little ghost that's kind of like of a round shape right there, which leads me to believe that there is another nut. And it looks pretty similar in size to the top ones. So I think I just need to somehow get a wrench up in there, and there's probably two more of these guys to take off, and then the whole thing will come out. So, see what we're doing. Crap. Definitely just dropped the wrench down inside the front bumper. So, that just added probably 20 minutes of farting around to the job, seeing if I can feel around in there and grab it. So, yeah, careful when you're undoing those, not to drop your wrench into the never-ending void that is the inside of your front bumper. So I'll report back in a little bit. All right, that was super annoying, but we got it done. So when you drop the one tool that was the best fit for the whole thing and you have to make do with backup tools, it takes a little bit longer. But I was able to get a ratcheting ring spanner kind of down in through here and behind it, and just kind of fart around with the bottom bolts, or sorry, nuts, to get them off. So next up, I need to disconnect the plug. I'll show you on this one, but basically it's this plug right here, and it mounts roughly there, so I'm going to unplug that, and then that should let the whole assembly come out. And as you can see, I've already got it pulled forward, and this trim piece is coming with it, so it should be pretty straightforward from that point. And then once I have this out of the way, I should be able to rummage around somewhere down in all of this and see if I can't find my wrench. All right, great success. So as you can see, we have the assembly out, and I've decided not to detach this if possible, because I think I have kind of an interesting discovery. So I know that all of the bulbs in this work perfectly, and roughly this one's adjusted kind of how I want it. And from what I can see, it looks as though these actually clip onto the adjusters. So I'm going to very gently see if these pop off the way I think they do, because if that's possible, then I'll actually just pull the bulb out of this one, like disconnect it, pop the 3 adjusters, do the same on this, and then basically just take the housing of this one and put it onto my one, because everything else on mine's good. So, and in fact, like a couple little things like this plug, the clip is broken on it, you know, just some small stuff that, like, you know, I'm getting into unknown territory with disassembly. So if possible, just take the smallest piece that I need, put it onto mine, and I'm good. So we'll see what we got. I love it when a plan comes together. So these are what I'm talking about here, and as you see, I've got just a jumbo flat blade. And basically, let me set the camera down so I can have both hands on this. Less risk of destroying something. All right, I think that's in frame. So basically, just prying up like that, and it frees it up. And as you can see, it's kind of this ball and socket thing going on here. And it looks like all three of them are the same design. So I'm gonna basically disconnect this bulb and then pop the other two off, and hopefully I can repeat it on the other one, and we're good to go. So you guys who've been following for a while know that periodically I do like to give kudos where it's due, and this is some credit here to Jag. This is probably one of the easiest to remove bulb connectors I've ever dealt with. You know, the twist ones aren't difficult, but usually they're located in a situation that's like tough to get your fingers on it and twist. This is literally just squeeze and pull, and it comes straight out, which actually, when it's in the front there, that's a very easy to access thing. So I would say high five on that one, Jag. That's kind of a nice little win. Also, spare bulbs just in case I need them, I guess. Since we're in here, I might as well show you, because this is a good opportunity to show you how all of the bulbs work in case you're just watching this video to replace the bulbs. So the main two unplug just how I showed you on the last one, but there's this little corner marker one down here, and it is actually just a twist counterclockwise. It does have this extended piece here that looks like you can kind of basically just get a set of pliers onto it. As you can see, that one is broken, so be careful with that, because it looks like the previous owner may have broken it when they were working with it. However, mine is intact. You see this nice big long flat tab there, so that'll make it a lot easier to get a hold of when it's buried. And basically, I'm actually just disconnecting this entire little wiring harness. I've already loosened this with the pliers, so basically I can just kind of twist it the last little bit of the way. There we go, and pop that little guy out. And since my plug on this one's already broken off of the tab right in here, you know, this is actually it. That's the wires and bulbs off of this assembly. Not too bad. Always good to have spares. Back on track though. Come on. There. Ha. Ha. Ha ha ha. There we go. That's our lens assembly. Nice. Might give this thing a quick clean down before I put it in the car, because that's a little grubby. So I repeated the process on my assembly here. Really super easy. Same exact deal. Just popped it off of these three things, unplugged the light, and again, I didn't really have to mess with the positioning of any of these adjusters. So now when I clip a new assembly onto this, my headlight alignment theoretically should be exactly what it was before, assuming that the manufacturing tolerances on these is pretty close. So I'm going to clip this new one on and plug the bulb in, and then we'll start reassembling this thing. Hit. Okay. Oh. Ha. And then, come on. One more. There we go. Haha. Okay. Well, that took 15 seconds. Haha. So now we just got to get it installed back in there. So, these were the bottom mounts, by the way, that I was, I'll say, struggling with. Yeah, they're not too hard, just a little bit fiddly. In the end, actually, the 13 mil ratcheting ring spanner probably was the best way to go versus the socket. The socket fit nice, but it was slightly bulky. So I would just do that, go slow and steady with it. You know, you'll get it out, and that way you don't have to like remove the bumper cover or the fender or the hood or anything crazy like that. And this is a little tip that I've learned over the years. It seems kind of obvious, but if you do have little marks where the hardware used to sit, try and line it back up on those, because that'll make sure your part is aligned just how it used to be. Like those little rings I showed you earlier. So I'm lining up the rings on these nuts, like the built-in washers, back on the marks that they used to be on. And that will make sure that this part is aligned as close as possible to where it was when I took it off. All right, just gotta get the fiddly one down at the bottom. I won't make you struggle, or watch me struggle. All right, so the final assessment is 1/4 inch drive socket with a deep 13 mil is the best for the top two here, and for this outside bottom one. And then a ratcheting 13 mil spanner is the best for this inside one, because you can kind of hang it on the nut and just kind of like keep a finger pinning it on there, and then work the handle back and forth, and that'll get it off pretty quickly compared to trying to fumble around with a full-size like ratchet in there. So that's kind of what I found when putting it back together, so hopefully that saves you some time. But yeah, I mean, all in all, this has actually been a pretty easy job. Obviously, you still got to just put the grill and stuff back on, which, as you saw, is pretty quick to take off, so it's going to be pretty quick to put back on. But I think this will have made a nice big difference. So I'm just going to wipe down some of the stuff I normally can't reach while I'm in here, and then get it all back together. Beautiful sunny day to work on a car in Florida. This is all the stuff you'd expect. It was 65 this morning. It's about 75 now. Cops and ambulances are just down the street from me dealing with some sort of domestic disturbance. You know, your average Florida day. All right, so I've got these in finger tight. Again, these are the T30 Torx. And just be careful when tightening these up. Literally just nip them up. If you're using a socket like me, which is complete overkill, just like I'm literally just using the pressure of my pinky there to do them. You don't want to split the plastic, because I'm sure these grills are not super easy to find. And if you're using a bit driver like you should be, then you know, that's probably a little easier to gauge. But so that's in. Now on to the grill inserts. So as we discussed before, there's the 2 tabs on the bottom, and those just rest in place like that. Nice and easy. And then you realize how disgusting the top of your grill inserts are, and decide that you're going to wipe them down too. Maybe I'm a little OCD. Much better. All right, and as you saw, real light pressure there. Don't want to strip out the plastic on these, because it does just thread right into plastic. And boom, we're good. Okay, well, that's it. We are 100% done. And I think it looks good. So a quick reminder, we went from this, which has the nice big split in it there, and now I'm looking closer. You can actually see like little spots of condensation on the inside of the lens there, so there definitely was moisture getting in, you know, at least a little bit at a time there. And then we went to this, which is significantly better. No cracks, nothing. So a little bit more pockmarked, and I think I may try and see if it's possible to kind of polish out the glass. I know it is possible to do that, I just don't know the technique right now, because it's not quite as shiny as the old one, but I would still much rather have that than a big old crack. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful to you guys. And you know, if you need to do a full lens like me, that shows you the whole process, but also in there you learned how to change the bulbs, disconnect the harness, things like that. And of course, I forgot one important step here, which is plugging them back in. So I'm glad I said that. I would have been like, why aren't my headlights working? So down here, literally just plug it back in. Probably didn't actually have to show you guys that, but you know, now we know we're done. So if you made it this far, as always, consider liking and subscribing. We do always have some cool Jag content, as well as some other vehicles And in general, you know, the subscribership has been freight training along. We are super excited that so many of you guys have joined along for the low-tech ride. You know, and again, it really does help us out. The growth is what's kind of keeping us motivated and wanting to make more, and we got some big exciting things coming in the future. So we would really appreciate it if you would subscribe and just hit that like button if this was helpful to you. And also drop a comment below if you got any questions or have any specific videos you want to see. You know, we're always watching the comments. We always try and reply to every single one if we can. So yeah, I mean, we try and interact with our audience as much as possible. So thank you, and we'll catch you on the next one.